Firstly, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all of the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. I'm so pleased to be here today in my living room to officially launch my mayoral campaign. Whether you're joining us live or in your own time, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for some of my supporters for virtually being here today. You will hear from them shortly. David Philipchuk, the CEO of PCL, a good friend of mine, and the head of one of Edmonton's biggest business success stories. Holly Ma, a leader in the Chinese community and a passionate supporter of her neighborhood. And Andrew Ference, who is the second best recent captain of the Edmonton Oilers. Sorry, Andrew. And an activist in our community in a variety of different fronts, including access to sports for all and environmental sustainability. A big thank you to my wife, Alicia, and my kids, who aren't really kids anymore, Jacob and Isabel, all for supporting me in this endeavor. There is no question that this has been the strangest campaign already. I've talked to hundreds of people over the past few months, and I have yet to shake a single hand. But while we are living through the most unfamiliar of times, there is so much that still resonates in the city. There are things about Edmonton and its dreams, ambitions, and even complaints that have resonated with me. Edmontonians believe in our city and in our potential. We are natural optimists, even in tough times like these. And we can be impatient about things that are not good enough, and we are not afraid of saying it. We are a caring people, one that doesn't measure success by our own achievements alone, but by the success of the entire community. We are creative, adaptable, innovative, and these same traits that allowed us to pull oil from sand will underline our next successes. Edmonton is the city that my parents chose for me when I was 7 years old. And as an immigrant who was brought literally halfway across the world, I found a welcoming city. I picked up a hockey stick and decided in turn to choose Edmonton as my home throughout the stage of my life. I've enjoyed very much in return, like meeting my wife, Alicia, even though she is from Calgary, who incredibly chose me and in turn shared a choice to raise our family here. And as an entrepreneur who founded a Remedy Cafe in Edmonton, in a community that was ready to embrace new things, like a cafe centered around being a community meeting place. And over the last 20 years, I've had the good fortune to co-found, lead, and now oversee Firma Foreign Exchange, a company with global reach, including offices in 4 countries, all still driven by an Edmonton-based team that continues to take so much pride in what they are building here. And Edmonton is where I have chosen to give back to my community as a volunteer, as a city councillor for Ward 5, and now as a mayoral candidate, hoping to lead the city as it shifts into one of the most important and challenging times. For several months, I have had many people share their thoughts with me about our city and its future, and of the kind of leadership we do need. As I've prepared my campaign, I have drawn themes from these messages, and my campaign will champion these themes: economic recovery, technology, and jobs. How we emerge from some pretty terrible times is top of mind for all of us. The pandemic has been an overwhelming challenge, and we now know that there are shifts in our economic reality that means that some of the same industries that brought us here cannot be counted on for our future prosperity, at least not in the same way. For the first time in a generation, it's not clear what opportunity and growth will drive our future. This is a big shift, but there's so much cause for optimism if we head in the right direction. Our energy ties will continue to be significant, but our approaches to grow our economy will need to change to be greener. We also have the start of a thriving technology sector and thousands of small businesses that are the backbone of our economy. There is so much promise here. We are an entrepreneurial city, and this region drives so much of Alberta's success. We build things here, we innovate, we adapt. If our goal is to be the most innovative and entrepreneurial culture in Canada, then the city has to consider the following. How do we make sure we never ever lose business without having done everything possible to win it? What is our sales pitch? How do we adopt a more competitive mindset and get investors to say yes to Edmonton? We have to be relentless in our efforts to win for our city. I will ensure that the business community knows that City Hall cares about their successes. Focused leadership and better management. This means being better at winning. This means being better at leading at City Hall. It means building support from our regional, provincial, and federal allies, no matter what political party they are from. And it means rallying council together to lead with a shared purpose. We need to create a Team Edmonton approach to get everyone in the city on the same page to champion our collective future. We can work so much better at City Hall and be better leaders for our city administration if we are determined to be a cohesive, effective team as mayor and council. And by choosing to focus on the most pressing problems facing our city, such as reigniting and diversifying our economy, addressing homelessness effectively, and finding important strategies to provide excellent core services, all while stopping endless tax increases. Supporting community builders and local neighborhoods. It is time to change how we focus on what we spend. For the last 20 years, we've built so many things, big things, like LRT and large-scale recreation centers. And so many communities have in turn waited to get support for some of the small things that can enrich those communities, whether it be bike parks or dog parks. These items are not items that will break the bank, and they do so much to make our communities livable. It is time for us to change the priority list and for communities to stop being told to wait while all these things get priority. I want to work closely with councillors to bring a community focus back to City Council. Edmonton for everyone. Most importantly, I want to speak to the overwhelming desire for Edmontonians to ensure that Edmonton is for everyone. I mentioned that I am an immigrant and that I settled into the city, but the path that led me and my family here was not easy. My family originally left Europe for South Africa when my grandparents fled the Nazis in the 1930s. All of their family members who couldn't escape did not survive the war. My family then immigrated from South Africa to Edmonton, choosing to leave apartheid behind. They would not accept a community based on so much social division. I do reflect often on the success we found here, but also on the consequences of hate and of leaving people behind. I know not everyone sees Edmonton the same way I do. People, unfortunately, experience our city in different ways every day. We've seen that not everyone has found our city to be accepting, whether it be newcomers or the Indigenous people that have lived here for thousands of years. But I also know that Edmonton understands that there is work to be done to ensure everyone has the same opportunities to succeed and contribute to the community. Whether by embracing a commitment to community safety that requires us to change how and where we deliver services, or fully embracing our obligations under reconciliation, or by prioritizing helping people living in poverty and homelessness. As mayor, I will work across communities, nonprofits, and businesses to gather and sustain the effort that we all must embrace to ensure the future we build is for all of us. I am running for mayor because I am optimistic about this city. We are a community that does big things, but doesn't forget the basics. We are entrepreneurs and innovators, and we have so much energy and creative drive. We are diverse and welcoming and ready to extend a hand. We are all exceptionally fortunate to live here, but keeping faith in what we've built will mean making more of our own luck with relentless determination, with open minds, and with a shared purpose. I would be so proud to lead this Edmonton. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'll now invite Andrew Ference, former Edmonton Oilers captain, to say a few words. Andrew.
Well, first of all, I'd like to applaud, Michael especially, but all who put themselves forward for public office, because it is a tremendous way to put yourself out there, and I applaud that leadership. I know Michael and his family and the Austries actually initially from summer camp, where our kids had a good time down at camp together and developed many memories, and the Austries so heavily involved in creating and helping some of those memories. And when Michael reached out to call me about running for mayor, I was impressed with him before, but the one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that he called to listen. He didn't call to pitch me on anything. He didn't call me to tell me his platform. He called to listen. And over the years, of playing hockey here and in Boston, I've been lucky enough to work with and develop friendships with past mayors, Mayor Menino, Mayor Walsh here in Edmonton, Mayor Iveson. All of those mayors have been extremely successful, but all were very, very smart people who knew how to listen to many perspectives. And I think that's what really stood out to me about our conversation so far, Michael, and obviously our first conversation is that he was calling to listen. I know he called many Edmontonians to listen to their perspective. What I told Michael during our first couple of conversations was that I think that Edmonton needs pragmatic leadership, especially post-COVID. We need to deal with the issues in our city in a sensible and realistic way. We need to take care of those essential services that people rely on in our city. Those essential services help remove barriers in people's lives that can restrict them to thrive. So whether that's recreational opportunities for all across all of our city, whether it's feeling safe after an Oilers game, walking around downtown, or biking in the bike lanes during January, feeling safe really helps people. Those are essential services. And especially here post-COVID, helping our businesses, small, medium, and large, thrive, especially after the chaos of the last year. That's going to take somebody that understands these issues, understands what it's like to run a business, especially during these times, and listens to people's other people's experiences that they've had to help remove those barriers, to help them thrive as well. And so I'm really proud and happy of Michael, really proud to be here today to speak for him and obviously to kick off what is hopefully a great campaign. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll now invite Dr. Holly Ma to say a few words.
My name is Holly Ma, and I am a small business owner and active community volunteer. My optometry practice is located in Chinatown, and I volunteer a lot of my time to give back to my community. Strong cultural communities make Edmonton a better place to live for us all. Michael Oshry clearly values the contributions of cultural communities, and I know he will work to build a socially inclusive city that ensures both newcomers as well as people who have lived here for generations are involved in all aspects of our city's economic, social, and cultural prosperity. Too many Edmontonians are being left behind, isolated, living in poverty, or experiencing homelessness. Solving these issues will be challenging, and we must do better as a whole community. My community and our businesses in Chinatown have had it particularly hard over the past years as we struggle with issues that really are citywide issues. I am looking forward to working with Michael as our mayor. I know he will see us, he will hear us, and he will value our concerns. When I first met Michael and was telling him about some of our community challenges, he, without hesitation, offered his helping hand without being asked. Michael Oshry is the kind of leader that will listen, learn, and develop a practical plan that moves everyone forward together. It is my honor to introduce Michael Oshry for mayor.
Thank you so much, Holly. And last but certainly not least, I will now invite the President and CEO of PSL, David Philipchuk.
Good morning, everyone. And it's really a true pleasure to be here for the launch of Michael Oshry's run for mayor. Happy to be part of it. Over the course of his career, Michael has really demonstrated he has what it takes to rally people, solve complex problems, and get results. As he alluded to in his comments, Michael has started and grown several successful businesses in Edmonton, most notably and recently a firm of Foreign Exchange, which employs close to 200 in well-paying tech sector jobs right here in our great city. As a proven entrepreneur himself, he knows what it takes to help local entrepreneurs succeed and spur job growth for even more Edmontonians. Over the years that I've known Michael, I've had many opportunities to spend time with him in meetings. I've watched him listen carefully to input and then work hard to build support, all in the interest of the best long-term outcome. Being born and raised in Edmonton myself, I believe our city can be a place where our children and their children after them can have access to the same opportunities that I did. We need a leader who can make well-informed decisions today to ensure Edmonton's set up for success, not just for the next 5 or 10 years, but for decades to come. Michael Oshry is that leader. The mayor's job is to make City Hall work for all Edmontonians. That means being pragmatic and efficient in addressing the city's needs. Resources are always finite, but used effectively, they can go further than they have been. With Michael Oshry's steady leadership, I believe we can keep taxes reasonable and affordable for households without sacrificing the support that vulnerable Edmontonians need. And all of this while continuing to make Edmonton a really great place to live. So congratulations, Michael. Thank you for stepping up, and I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thank you, everyone. I'll now hand it over to questions from the media. We'll have a Q&A session. So if members of the media, if they do have a question, could please use the raise hand function in Zoom, and I will then call on you.
Sorry, I don't think there's a raise hand function right now.
Oh, okay, well then we can start with you.
Okay, my question for Michael Oshry, it's a pretty crowded field already and we're still a few months out. How are you feeling for that?
Sorry, can you repeat at the end part? What was the actual question?
How are you feeling with this crowded field for mayoral contenders?
Well, I'm actually quite happy that there's a very diverse field that have decided to run for mayor and for city council. I think that's actually a great thing. I think there's lots of choices for people, and ultimately the citizens of the city will pick who they think is the best leader for what the city needs in the upcoming years. So we're running a pretty optimistic campaign, and I think I have the right skill set that can step forward and undertake some of these challenges that the city has coming ahead.
Thank you, Carly. I think there is a raise hand feature. If people can't find it, if they would just unmute. But for now, I will hand it over to Sarah Ryan from Global News.
Hi, Michael. 4 years ago, you decided not to seek re-election for council, and you said that it was a personal decision. What's changed from 2017 to now?
Well, I think it's critical that we set up the city for success, and the moment currently needs strong leadership. And I believe I'm uniquely qualified with my understanding of how the city works, and obviously my strong business background, that I'm the person that can do that. And so we need some pragmatic actions. We don't need credit. I'm not interested in taking the credit. I just really want to do something good for the city. And so the time was right for me to step forward and make this big leap.
Okay, I see Natasha Reeve from CBC.
I found the raise hand function. Thanks. Michael, could you please elaborate on your skill set and how being an entrepreneur, like you really want to focus on the economy, jobs, green technology. Could you just elaborate on, if you had your resume in front of you, top 3 things that you can bring to the table?
Yeah, thank you. So, I've built businesses from startup mode, literally, a table from Costco and one computer. into a company now that has offices in 4 different countries. So I know every stage of building a business. I have the background of being at City Hall for 4 years, which I believe is the right amount. It's, I'm not a long-term politician. I haven't had a full career there. So I think I bring a diverse background. And, I'm a team player and a team builder. So I really believe it's important to use all the skills of all the people at the table and gather as much information, a diverse set of information from as many people as possible in order to make a decision. And then when there is a decision that needs to be made, I have no problem making a tough decision, even if it's slightly unpopular, if I think it's the right decision. So by that point, I'm pretty confident that it's the right way to move forward. And I don't mind that. And I'm a very, pragmatic person. And so I really am looking for some pragmatic solutions for some of the challenges the city has coming our way.
Thank you. May I ask a follow-up?
Sure, Natasha.
Yeah. And just, you had mentioned solving homelessness or doing something about it effectively. Mayor Iveson is known as somebody who's worked very hard to try to do that. Do you have anything that you can add that you have in mind right away that you would do?
I mentioned I'm a pragmatic person, and solving homelessness, I don't believe is actually achievable. And it might not be popular to say that, but it's really about mitigating and helping as many people as possible. And I think there's ways to do that to get almost to that point. We're always going to have challenges. There has been challenges for generations. Ultimately, it's about coming up with some pragmatic, simple solutions, a lot of quick wins that I think the city needs to step up and do. And so on my team, I've got people with expertise in this area. And so we're coming up with and have come up with some concrete plans that are going to be released over the course of the summer.
Thank you. Sarah, back to you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but I recall in past interviews with you, you've said to me that the city needs to be run more like a business. Do you still agree with that, and in what ways?
Business, I did learn in when I was there that business and government is different. However, business does have the advantage of a bit more focus than what government does. And I really believe that we have to stop, government is well-meaning. Everyone's trying to do their best, but we're spending money and time on everything, and we really need to pick some winners. And so I do believe that the city needs to focus their resources, time, people, money on a few key initiatives that are really going to move the city forward, and not trying to do everything for everyone, because ultimately then you just kind of do a mediocre job on everything. And so I think that's a skill set that the business community can bring to City Hall, but I do understand that it is different, and there's more complexities in government, but I do believe that my business background is going to be extremely helpful for what the city needs going forward.
And if I may, as a follow-up, you kind of outlined some of the pillars of your campaign. What would be the first thing, your number one priority that you would do if you were elected?
Well, I think without a strong economy and without a rebound out of COVID, and the city really is not going to have the resources to fix a lot of these problems efficiently. So we really have to focus on the economy, jobs, economic transitions based on technology and the environmental issues that are coming our way and have come our way. So really, that is really at the forefront of the campaign. But those other issues that I brought up in my speech are equally important. But we really do need to get the city back, the city economy back, and people working so they can participate fully in everything that's great that the city offers.
And we have another question from CTV News. Sorry, the first question from CTV News.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I just wanted to circle back to the issue of a bit of a busy run. So far, we know 9 people, I believe, have entered the race. I guess I'm just wondering, how do you hope to really capitalize on the bulk of getting those votes and ensure that they're not split amongst some of your others that are potentially running as well?
Well, our campaign is going to show that I don't like talking about myself, but I guess I have to learn that. But the campaign is going to show that really I'm the best positioned candidate to do what's needed for the city. So, based on my business background, based on my time at City Council, I care deeply about people, especially about people that need to step up. And so ultimately, we're going to show that I'm the best candidate that's going to help with all these challenges that the city has coming ahead. And so I do believe that we'll be able to separate myself from the rest of the pack.
Thank you. Natasha, back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit. And Michael, you said you don't like to talk about yourself. You'll have to get used to that. We do know, there are a couple of other candidates that are pretty vociferous. They're out there. They get a lot of attention. Mike Nickel, for example. So how do you feel like you could challenge them, and in what way would you approach that?
Well, I'm quite optimistic for the future of the city. I'm optimistic that there's going to be a turnaround in the economy next year. I'm optimistic that, Edmonton is this weird city of helpers. People don't appreciate it. It's in our DNA. It's in our culture. It's not the same in every other city, and people will help each other get ahead. And so we're going to talk a lot about these optimistic views I have for the city of Edmonton going forward. And, our campaign is just kicking off now. And so there's lots of information to come on our michaeloshry.ca website. There's just lots of platforms and lots of policies that are going to come on. And ultimately, the citizens of the city are smart, and they're going to pick who they think is the best person to lead. And they're not going to necessarily listen to polarizing rhetoric on either side of the political spectrum. And, I'm a pretty centralist, pragmatic person, and I think it's going to really come a long way when people are going to realize what our campaign's about. And I think it's going to really touch a nerve with a lot of people. And I'm very confident we're going to have a lot of success.
And back to CTV, I think you have another question. And if you could please state your name, that would be helpful.
Oh, sorry. Yes, this is Shailan with CTV Edmonton. Thanks for taking another question of mine. You had mentioned being unprecedented times, of course, making it challenging for everyone, but no doubt somebody who's running for mayor. So I guess I'm just wondering how you plan to campaign. I know there are questions about whether door knocking is safe right now. So just kind of addressing how you plan to really get your message out, and whether or not you feel Edmontonians are really engaged in municipal politics right now, given there are a number of other challenges they are facing.
It's a really difficult time for everybody. There's a lot of anxiety for everyone, given the COVID situation. We are not door knocking immediately. We don't think it's appropriate given the regulations that are out there right now, which is why I'm doing my campaign launch in my living room with just my family. However, over the course of the summer, hopefully restrictions will be lifted, and we'll be fulsomely doing door knocking and all the typical campaign activities, and as well being active on social media. And we're going to have a lot of substance in our campaign. So look forward to that coming out. And I think it's going to resonate with the majority of Edmontonians.
Okay, thank you. And Natasha, I think you put your hand down, or do you have a follow-up question?
I actually have a question for Mr. Ference, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Andrew? Go ahead, Natasha.
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, I just want your thoughts on why you think Michael Oshry will make the best mayor of Edmonton.
Well, like I said, good people make good leaders. Michael, first and foremost, is a good person. His family's fantastic. Like I said, getting to know them on a personal level, through summer camp and through the kids and the work that they've done there. Initially, I think that's a great way to get to know somebody. So at his core, he's a good person who sincerely wants to help people, loves his city, understands both sides of the coin, government and business. That's a lot of boxes that are checked. Like I said, when he first reached out, I get pitched a lot of things. He didn't pitch me. He did genuinely call to listen, to talk about the issues of the city, to talk about what he's hearing about from other Edmontonians. So I think those are incredible qualities of a leader. Like I said, I've been fortunate enough to get to know some past mayors who have been tremendous leaders in their own cities. And you see a lot of similarities in that style. So more than happy when he first reached out to ask for my support. It's pretty straightforward for me. That's an easy yes.
Okay, thank you.
Carly with City News.
Hi, actually, this question is coming in on your Facebook Live, and I thought it was cute. Allison Palmer says she's watching with her grade 6, and they would love to know if you would support a housing first model or treatment first when working to help people experiencing homelessness.
Well, thank you, Allison, and your class. I'm waving. Nice to see you all, although I can't see you, but I'm assuming you can see me. So I think it's great that grade 6 classes across the city get involved in municipal politics. My kids did when they were that age, of course, so awesome to hear. And great question. That's a very complicated issue. But the answer is yes. You know, there's a lot of different housing supports that are needed by different levels of housing supports that are needed by different people in different situations. And the city is doing some work on that, but they need to step it up in order to help as many people as possible. But it also needs to be spread out in different areas of the city. And so it's a very complicated issue. There's lots of issues surrounding the housing issue, whether it's addiction issues or mental health issues, poverty. And so the city has a role to play here. And this is one of the key pillars of my campaign, is to making sure that we help as many people as possible who need it.
Thank you, Carly, for that question. Really appreciate it. And is there any other questions from any other? I'm not seeing any at this time, so we will wrap up our launch event. If you do have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact the team and we can set up a one-on-one interview for you. All right, congratulations to Michael, and thank you to everyone watching and participating.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.